Faced with confronting a decade-plus problem with drugs and alcohol. You can always reinvent yourself. There's always hope. There's always opportunity. And you have excavated your soul and done the interior work. I think the moment where I began to really look inward and take stock and inventory of my life legitimately for the first time was probably when I was 31 and found myself in a treatment center in rural Oregon, faced with confronting a decade-plus problem with drugs and alcohol. Nowhere to escape. What I was going to do about it in order to create a new life for myself that would be more in alignment with a truer version of who I was. I think that we are all reinventing ourselves all the time. I've said this before, but I think the great delusion that we walk around with is that, but the reality is that everything is changing all the time, from the subatomic level all the way to, the vastness of the universe. There is no stasis. Everything is in flux. And you can always reinvent yourself. There's always hope. There's always opportunity. I think there's a lack of appreciation of everything that goes into the moment where you change your mind and you do something different. And then all of the work that goes into that rebuilding phase and the aftermath of making that decision that ultimately creates the new life. I think people are impatient. They want results too quickly. They don't appreciate the amount of hard work that goes into actually crafting the life of your desires. And I think as a result of that, when they don't see results immediately, they burn out and retreat to what's safe and what they know versus welcoming failure, welcoming uncertainty, getting comfortable with risk, and remaining persistent in their vision to create something more in alignment with their authentic self. It is a very confusing, protracted time, and it takes a lot longer than people realize. There's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of self-doubt. There's a lot of judgment from other people. If you're breaking outside of a social expectation or a familial expectation, if you're trying something new, your peers, your friends are going to look at you a little bit differently. Perhaps they're not going to be as supportive as you might have expected. So there's a loneliness, I think, that is part of it as well. And I think with that is this testing process around your level of willingness, around your level of trust in yourself. And it's like being burned in a cauldron. Like as I've said many times, like if you're going to be a phoenix, you have to burn first. And I don't know if there's an end run around that burning process, because that is the process that, creates the new version of yourself. It's almost mandatory that one goes through their version of that. I can tell you in those moments, all you feel is fear and this overpowering impulse to retreat back to what you know. And it is in those moments, those are the moments of truth that no one sees, where you're at your breaking point. And that's where faith comes in, honestly. You have to believe in yourself. You have to be able to hold that vision for the better life of your aspirations. And you have to also have an almost transcendent self. You have to have an almost transcendent sense of some other force at play that has your best interest at heart, such that if your heart is true and you are truly engaged in the process of trying to align your actions with your values, and you have excavated your soul and done the interior work to try to really get honest with yourself, and you're earnest in that regard, I do believe that the universe will at some point conspire to support you. It's not going to be on your timeline. It's not going to be convenient. The results aren't going to look like you think they're going to look. But I've seen this play out in my life many times and in the lives of many people that I'm close with. Well, it happens small until it happens big. The reinvention occurs in the micro actions that you're taking every single day. The tiny little things that perhaps no one even notices that are creating muscle memory around new behaviors that perhaps are very uncomfortable to you. Like, hey, I'm going to engage with this person in a different way than I usually do by being more direct or more honest, or I'm going to put down a boundary, or I'm going to say no to this and yes to this. Tiny little things repeated over time is what produces dramatic change.